Hello everyone, my name is Sang-Ho. I will present our work on PrivacyToon, which was a joint work with Sidney Lamore, Edith Law, and liaison candidate at the University of Waterloo. Today, increased access to technology and near constant use of the internet expose young people to various threats to their privacy. And concerns over their privacy are generating efforts to teach them basic privacy and cybersecurity concepts to improve their awareness of online risks and understanding to help them secure their personal information. However, teaching appropriate privacy practices and cybersecurity concepts can be challenging, as privacy concepts can be abstract and cybersecurity concepts too technical. One approach that has shown some promise in recent years is teaching with comics, as comics can present abstract, difficult concepts in an engaging, accessible manner. But despite its ability to engage young people and make privacy and cybersecurity concepts more accessible, one challenge it poses is that creating comics is a creative, laborious, and time-consuming task. And while there already exist tools for creating general-purpose comics, no tools have yet been designed to offer any particular creativity support for specific type of comics like privacy comics. So we developed PrivacyToon, a comic authoring tool with creativity support for privacy concepts. And a part of the creativity support includes what is called concept-driven storytelling process, where the tool guides users through a design process that proceeds from concept to story and then to comic. And in this concept-driven storytelling framework, ideation cards are used in each stage of the design process, with trigger cards to help brainstorm ideas on what one can say about the concept, scenario cards to help develop a story that illustrates the ideas related to the concept, and design cards to provide design ideas for the comic. Concretely, here is the interface for PrivacyToon. It has a panel for viewing ideation cards that correspond to the design stage. So in this case, trigger cards because we are in the concept stage. And then there is a stage selector to specify and select the type of ideation cards to show in the ideation panel, and a filter panel for viewing selected or a specific set of cards, and panels for listing ideas for concept, story, and comic. So for instance, here's a quick walkthrough. A user selects trigger cards, and the questions from these cards and a text box are added to the concept panel for users to list their ideas, as is shown here. And then based on the ideas the user came up with, and a set of scenario cards, the user writes down the stories. And then the user can use design patterns in the design cards, which, when selected, instantly adds the design patterns into the canvas. And users can maximize the canvas and use pre-drawn stencils in the library to quickly draft comics. Now, to assess the educational and creativity support capabilities, as well as the usability of PrivacyToon, we conducted a 2-hour remote user study with teachers and students. And since we were also interested in whether their experience and output would vary depending on the availability of creativity support, that is, the design guidance and ideation cards, we conducted a within-subject study where participants were asked to create 2 comics, one without and the other with creativity support. Specifically, after completing a pre-study survey, participants first engaged in a replication exercise to familiarize themselves with the tool, and then engaged in the first comic authoring task where they read an article about a topic on either you're leaving footprints or sharing releases control from the teaching privacy curriculum. Which article they read was randomized in order to minimize the order effect. After reading the article, they first used this interface without creativity support to create comics, and then after a break, they went through the same process of reading an article and then creating a comic about the concept in the article using PrivacyToon. And the study ended with exit survey, where participants were asked to elaborate on their experience and responses to the survey questions. Participants generally found PrivacyToon usable, and we also found that participants who self-declared to have low drawing skills engaged in free-form drawings as well, suggesting that the drawing canvas provided the right level of creativity support, and that drawing experience did not get in the way of their ability to create comics. And when asked which interface they preferred, more participants preferred PrivacyToon, that is, with creativity support. But surprisingly, a non-trivial number of participants also said they prefer a simple interface without creativity support. So, upon a closer look, we found that other analysis aligned with this finding. We found that the number of cards participants used varied significantly. For instance, the number of trigger cards participants used ranged from 1 to 15 and 1 to 12 for scenario cards, suggesting that whereas some relied heavily on the ideation cards, others did not. Also, those who preferred without creativity support rated usability much lower at 56 for PrivacyToon, whereas those who preferred creativity support rated the usability much higher at 79. The analysis of creativity support index scores and perceived usefulness of ideation cards also aligned with this finding. There was no statistically significant difference between the average CSI scores between the tools without and with creativity support. As shown here, the perceived usefulness of ideation cards was also not necessarily skewed to one side. Overall, we found that both with and without creativity support are desired by participants, as they can be appropriate for different scenarios, and that PrivacyToon is perceived to be a useful tool for teaching and learning privacy and cybersecurity concepts. We also conducted a qualitative analysis of 46 privacy comics created from this user study to identify a preliminary list of design dimensions and potential design patterns for privacy comics. And to mention just a few, one dimension was data. All of the comics contained some form of data in varying complexity, emphasizing that privacy is about protecting one's data. And there was also a frequent use of metaphors and analogies in their comics. For instance, one participant used chocolate cookie as a metaphor for HTTP cookie and oven as a metaphor for browser. The comic on the right began with a puppet analogy to stress that we can be controlled like a puppet in the digital world. We also found comics using humor to present serious privacy topics in a more lighthearted, accessible way. And finally, one interesting pattern we found is this quiz pattern, where a question is asked and reader is given options to choose which action they should take. Now, this pattern is interesting as it can be a clever way of engaging and forcing readers to reflect on and test their understanding. For a more detailed analysis and explanations of additional dimensions, please refer to our paper. In summary, PrivacyToon fills the gap in cybersecurity educational tools literature and demonstrates how ideation card-based design processes can be integrated into a digital authoring tool. This study also shows that systems integrating ideation card-based creativity support should allow users to switch on and off this creativity support, as personal preferences and context can influence the need for creativity support. Finally, this work contributes a preliminary list of design dimensions and patterns for privacy comics.